Okay, we're having another day, like 360 days of being in my house. So there's things you're not allowed to say, so I have to not even talk about any of that stuff. Um, and Stella is in quite the mood. She was up all during the night and kept crying. Now all today, and of course it's a rainy day. Her worst nightmare. She wants to just go outside. She likes it in the summer because I just leave the door open and she just pushes the screen open and goes out nonstop. But when it's cold, the front door is closed and she can't get out so easy. So it's hard to not look at yourself when you're talking and looking. So that's why I look around a lot. So yesterday, I finished Wrong Turn. And it was the new one. I was talking about it yesterday, and I was saying, the bullshit stereotyping that they had in the characters and stuff. That's how they do so much. Just like the other movie with the caricatures of real people, and this one, stereotyping. Like if say I was asked to be in a movie, and they said, well, we want you to play the tattooed drug addict. You're a thief, all that stuff. There's no way. There's so much stereotyping. Why would I play into that? And that's it's just this constant stereotyping of so many different people. And they make everybody into a joke. In the Wrong Turn, I was talking about the two gay guys, the couple, which, they're both very flamboyant. Right there, they're stereotyping. There's plenty of gay guys out there that aren't, super feminine or super exaggerated. So that was stereotyping. They're constantly pushing the multiracial couple. And I don't really get why, though. I mean, like, why can't people just meet and fall in love with whoever they want to fall in love with? Or, why can't it be natural? Why are you trying to tell us that in order to be progressive, you have to do this, you have to do that? It's absurd, seriously. But anyway, so I went and kept watching it, and it did get better. There was some stuff that was very intriguing about it in the storyline. There was a certain part, and I don't want to give away, I don't want to spoil it for somebody who wants to watch it, so I can't go in details, but it was definitely had some interesting kind of topics, but they kind of skewed them so that they could turn them into looking like, this is weird, when it should have been like, this is a more natural way. Anyways, if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It does have a lot of gore and grotesque. It's not as bad as some horror movies where the whole thing just seems to just show so they can have people have sex and be murdered in front of us. So I know a lot of them are super gory. Like, I can't stand to watch them. I used to love horror movies when I was a kid growing up, but it was just the same as, like, Dick Van Dyke Show or something. You didn't have to watch all the stuff. A vampire, wasn't a whole like blood fest, and it was a lot more left to your imagination in movies. And now it's I don't know, there's something sick about it. But anyways, so yeah, I stopped watching so many horror movies when they started having the Jasons and all that stuff. It just started being just slaughter movies. It's nothing scary. Like, learn from Alfred Hitchcock or Rod Serling or something. Be thought-provoking and suspenseful. Their suspense is all like a loud bang and a cat jumping and stuff. It's like, that's stupid. These stupid jump scares. And the music. The way they use these weird frequencies now in these new movies. Anyways, I'll go off and I'll be talking for 10 minutes about that stuff. But in this one, it did have some gore. I mean, if that stuff grosses you out, I've gotten to the point where now I just close my eyes or look away or walk out of the room when you know someone's about to be slaughtered. Because it's disgusting. Like, I don't want to watch somebody's body just get tore to shreds or beat to death or, oh, I can't quit looking at my hair, to look, I don't know, some of the scenes, you know, when they do that and they want to show you what's it look like when you've been bludgeoned to death and stuff. It's gross. I don't want to see it. Sickening. But anyways, it had some, you know, if you like watching scary movies or whatever, it has some good stuff to the plot and stuff. Better than what I thought it was going to be. And then I watched, because after that, you know, I felt like I got to bring up my spirit summer, you know, like, I don't know, you got to raise yourself out of that energy. You can't sink down in that energy because that energy will attract to you, if that makes sense to you. So anyways, I turned on this other movie, and I think it's The Map of Tiny Perfect Things or something like that. It's a new movie too. And it didn't have, let's see, it seemed like there was somebody in it who was pretty famous. I can't remember. It might have been somebody, but it was more of people that you kind of recognize or are new. But anyways, the story, oh my gosh, the story is really good. And I can't say stuff because I wouldn't want to spoil it for somebody, but it's definitely a lot more thought-provoking, and it talks about higher concepts of third dimension, fourth dimension, space-time continuum and stuff. So to me, it was very interesting. I love to see different perspectives on that. I love to watch time machine movies and you know, see how others see these things. But I don't like the movies where they're trying to manipulate you or use characters to stereotype and help us form our opinions, because that's what we need them to do with the movies. We can't seem to function by ourselves. And in that one of the lines the girl said, I thought was really cool, because she said, our second dimension, or our shadows are two-dimensional, and then we are the third dimension of our shadows, so then we're three-dimensional, and that our we are the shadow of our fourth dimensional self. And I was like, oh, that's such an interesting way to look at it, because essentially we kind of are, because, you know, as much as you tune into them or whatever, but they're up there kind of guiding the ship. And, you know, it just depends on how much you listen to them and how much you fight and how much you give other energy opportunity to mess with your journey. But I thought that was a super interesting way, the way she explained that. And so the movie's about being stuck on like a Groundhog Day movie, but it's really good. It has some twists. It's really good. If you, you know, are locked in your house all the time like me and are looking for something during winter to entertain you, because that's my problem. Oh, there's something else I was gonna say about that, I think. But I was thinking a lot about, you know, legacy and stuff. You know, about, I know I've talked about this before, about what you bring into the world is going to affect generations to come of people. And, you know, so if you're abusive, if you know, have a family and you are abusive to all them, well, that's, I mean, you're going to affect generations to come. You know, it's not just you doing this, because now you have taught your kids and stuff. And a lot of people, you know, they don't know how to handle situations, you know, and they'll just revert back to, if they were abused, they become abusers. And, you know, that's a pretty common thing. And so, but I think that the people just don't really understand how much that energy has its own life. That energy becomes a wave on humanity. And, I think people have got to take it a lot more serious about what all that means. I don't think people understand the concept so much. They look at it as a much more rudimentary way or something of, basic, like that's where I get like three-dimensional thinking. You have to look deeper. And we're all putting energy out there. Our energy is affecting other people's energy. And as a collective, we all share energy. So, in our energy effects, just like what I was talking about, that thing about Hitler, and, that his karmic debt isn't finished being tallied because the people he affected are still alive. Their grandkids and their kids and stuff. I mean, that his tally's far from done. That is how significant that our energy imprint is. And yesterday I was thinking, like about vanity, say, and you are somebody who has money, and maybe you came from a family that you weren't noticed. Maybe your parents didn't care. Maybe you were sent to boarding school and you always had to have A's, and you just never had anybody who really cared about you or something. There's like so many different things that can make people who they are. But whoever you become and who you affect is going to be just so much beyond just the here and now. What was I going to say? Oh, so say you're that kind of guy, and you need other people to constantly make you feel good about yourself. Because some of those rich people, that's how they get into some of their problems, is having to go outside of themselves to feel good about themselves. So, and who knows if they do it out of guilt or what the intention is, that if they have a lot of money and they give it and they go to these dinners and they interact with these other people and they all think they're upper crust and that they think that they're better than other people, and they pat each other on the back and say how great they are, never knowing anything outside of their circle. But so you're that kind of person, right? And then you go and with all your money, you're gonna pay to have your name. I mean, they put their names everywhere. Walk down a hospital, you got their names everywhere. Go to a bench, got their names plaqued everywhere. Everywhere they can, they're plaquing their names. And depending on how significant, I mean, people get whole libraries, whole medical wings and stuff named after them. So, and that's obviously a need to them. So it wasn't about giving the money, it's about the label, of, oh, look, I'm a good person, I did this, and my name's right there. You can go up and read it. But some of those, it gets so much of, like vanity starts building the ego. So you think like generations from then, the arrogance to be, well, my family, that's my family name on the library. That's my family name. We put the wing on the hospital, that kind of stuff. And that is a sickness, and that is a bad energy to carry forth. You see, like his ego problem, it became like it was something that was fed, and it probably continued in that whole family to the point where the arrogance just grew. And it's a separation, We shouldn't need to put our names out there for other people to see and pat us on the back and tell us we're great. We should just know in ourselves that we're great. We want to do what we can do to help. We want to, move up, not hold people back. And when you feel like you have to be better than other people, you have to be noticed for your brilliance, noticed for these things, then you're putting yourself on a pedestal, and it's kind of, I think a lot of it comes from this neediness of not feeling good enough about yourself. I need someone to tell me that I'm okay. And there's just so many people that come out of childhood feeling that way. And all of those needs have been manipulated. And so that is kind of like where you got to kind of basically go back to start to figure your own stuff out, is that whole thing about the inner child work. That's real. You know, you can go in and you can really, to me, it would be, you know, meditating and going in, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but you remember yourself as a child. You can remember different instances. You can go in, you can change the story. You can envision how you wanted it to go. You can, you know, think about the things that it brings up in you and stuff. And then, you know, that's the start of trying to heal the things that hold you back. It's like the chains that bind you, that hold you down. And it all has so much to do with just fear. There's always fear. That's a big one. And not feeling good about yourself, needing others to make you feel good about yourself. And see, and everything is such a fine line too, you know, because as human beings, we do need others, but we shouldn't put our self-esteem in their hands, because it just doesn't work. I mean, I did it for years and years and years through every marriage. And that's one of the things that really triggered me, because at first when I had got my brain injury, that would have been the start of the waking up, which I've said before, that was like, my guides were fed up. I wasn't listening. And I used to listen to them all the time when I was a little kid. I could hear them, but then things happened in life and you just get caught up. I'm not even sure, but you get somehow caught up in the drama, and you just change your focus. You're just like trying to survive. And so, and you know, hating my job. I'm just not a nurse. I'm not somebody who likes to deal with sick people. Sick people kind of annoy me. They're whiny. They just whine and cry and need somebody to make them feel better. And I don't know. You know what? If you have a patient that's not talking, that they're that sick. But oh my gosh, I've had patients. I've had patients, and I don't know if I've said this before, but you know, when you're a nurse, you have an assistant, and the assistant does more of the, a lot of hands-on stuff, because nurses is a lot of, you just check the people, it's a lot of writing and doing orders and you know, it's a lot more technical, I guess, and you're constantly having yourself on the line. I mean, you can be bitched out right in front of people. Nobody cares. I mean, you can be made to feel like the most stupidest person in the whole world, even by other nurses. It's really cutthroat. And a lot of the women who go into it, they have certain kinds of needs. You see when you start working with a lot of them, there's something that they all kind of had that was the same, and I didn't have it. And so this woman, she has my assistant go down there. They're called NACS or NACS, and has her go down there, and then she comes back and she says, she needs you. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Let's see what she wants. She's in the bathroom. So I go in. She wants me to wipe her ass for her. She couldn't wipe it herself. She couldn't have an NAC do it. No, she needs an RN. And this is an RN's job. Someone, you know, with some experience needs to wipe my ass. It's like, oh my God, lady. That's the kind of stuff that I was just really put off with nursing. It's just like, so many people, they can have something even minor wrong, and they'll just, oh my gosh. Yeah, there's people who enjoy being sick. They feed off of it. They need attention off of it. And it's a sickness, you know? That's the sickness. But, you know, the more that people can learn to love themselves and not depend on others to make them feel better. But in my marriages, that I was always, you know, trying to please this other person. And I was always, you know, like, when this other person tells you, like, oh my God, you're so crazy. Oh my God, you're so this. Oh my God, you're so that. And then you start believing it, like, oh, you know, maybe I am this. Maybe I just need to change. And you start like kind of suffocating yourself. You keep putting yourself aside. You keep, it's kind of like you've got yourself inside you and it's trying to come out, but you keep trying to put them back in the bag or something. Like, stop. Nobody likes you. Go away. I got to be what these people want me to be. I don't have time to mess with you. You're weird. And so then, you go through all these relationships. You can't make people happy. For one thing, if you need someone else to change for you in order to be happy, I mean, look at yourself. If you can't be happy unless someone else is doing something for you or is a certain way, then there's something that's not right there. You have to go in and look at yourself. You have to go in and see, why do I need to control others? What is missing in me? What am I triggered? Why do I have to do this? Because we shouldn't need to control other people. That shouldn't be something that we need to do to feel better about ourselves. But, when you are also the person who is doing all these things, trying to make people happy and trying to make people like you. She's proud. She wants to take my chair. Okay, Stella, I'm trying to talk, okay? Why don't you go lay on the couch, please? Okay, go. Oh, yes. Oh, I know. It's a rough day for you today. I know, sweetie. But the more that people can learn to just love themselves and appreciate their own weirdness. We don't all have to be alike. Oh, just a sec.